Hey everyone, welcome back to Craig's YouTube channel, a channel where I basically talk about my love for all different kinds of horror films, where I do top 10 lists and horror movie reviews. So if this sounds like your cup of tea, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Okay, so in today's video, I am going to be taking a look at my top 10 favorite Freddy Krueger kills. Now, if you don't already know, I am a massive fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I've done a fair few lists on this channel on Freddy, and no doubt there will be many more. So I am going to kick this list off at number 10, and that is Debbie's death in Nightmare 4: The Dream Master. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Nightmare 4, however, it isn't the weakest film of the series, and it does have some really good moments, like Debbie's death. Now, Debbie likes to keep herself fit, and she's got this home gym, and while she's working out on her bench press, we end up seeing a reflection of Freddy, who ends up appearing just above Debbie. And Debbie is like, "I don't believe in you," and Freddy is like, "I believe in you." He then pushes down on the weights that Debbie is holding, and as he pushes down, Debbie's arms completely snap right at the elbows, and it's proper gruesome, but it's awesome. The arms literally just break apart like pieces of chicken. Before you know it, Debbie starts slowly turning into a cockroach, and she ends up falling down in some slime, and she goes face first into it. Now, as she tries to pull herself back up, her head literally just rips away, and before you know it, Debbie is literally a full cockroach. It's really, yucky. Freddy then looks inside this little bug box hotel, and then he proceeds to crush this box with Debbie inside. It's proper icky and rather disgusting, but it's such a creative kill. Sticking with Nightmare 4: The Dream Master, at my number 9 spot is with Joey. Now, one of the main reasons why I'm not a huge fan of Nightmare 4 is because of the way the last of the main characters from Nightmare 3, they are literally just discarded and killed within 15 minutes of Nightmare 4. But talking of Joey's death, now this is memorable for a certain one-liner that Freddy delivers. So Joey has a waterbed, and he starts to pretty much daydream while checking out a Pretty Woman poster that's hanging up on his wall. All of a sudden, Joey's bed starts to jiggle around, and when he removes the covers, there is the pretty girl inside the waterbed just swimming around, you know, as you do. Of course, Joey has a big smile on his face, but then all of a sudden, Freddy bursts out of this waterbed, and he drags Joey in, and he ends up delivering that line, "How's this for a wet dream?" Joey tries to break away from Freddy, but Freddy just ends up butchering him under the water, and Joey is pretty much dead. Later on, his mum finds his dead body inside the waterbed, which is kind of odd when you think about it. Like, how did Joey even get in there in the first place? You know, like in the real world now, not the nightmare world. But anyway, Joey's death earns its number 9 spot on my list. In my number 8 spot is Julie's death in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, a very underrated horror film in my opinion. Now, I love all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but I do think that Nightmare 1, Nightmare 3, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare are the best. So Julie, she is the babysitter for Heather Langenkamp, who ends up being killed in a very similar fashion to Tina from Nightmare 1. Actually, it's pretty much exactly the same. Maybe a little bit more dramatic, and you actually do get to see Freddy running up and down the walls and onto the ceiling during this kill. So Freddy attacks Julie in the hospital, but nobody can see Freddy apart from Dylan, because Dylan, he's been sedated questioned by the nurses and he pretty much sleepwalks. Now Dylan watches Freddy drag Julie up the wall and onto the ceiling while he slices and dices her. She reaches down for Dylan's help, but there's nothing Dylan can do. Julie is killed and then thrown back down to the ground. It's a pretty cool kill, even if it is recycled from a previous movie. At number 7, we have Nancy from Nightmare 3, The Dream Warriors. Now, I think some of you may have thought that this might have been higher up on my list, but for me, it sits around the number 7 mark. It's a very bittersweet death scene for me because I absolutely love Nancy's character. However, she did go down fighting, which is what I would have expected from Nancy. So Nancy, Kristen, Joey and Kincaid are all in the dream trying to defeat Freddy in the final act of the movie. Now, Nancy's dad appears as a spirit in the dream because he's pretty much just being killed off by Freddy. So when Nancy says her goodbyes to her dad and she gives him a big hug, then comes the stab. Freddy plunges his claw right into Nancy's stomach. It's quite a shocking moment when you first see this for the first time, but Nancy does put up a pretty good fight because when Freddy is about to kill Kristen, Nancy pops up behind Freddy and slams his very own claw into his body before defeating him. Like I said, it's a bittersweet moment for me. I mean, it might have been pretty cool to maybe have Nancy appear in a few more Freddy films, but it was probably better to go out on a high because we all know that the quality takes a slight nosedive in the next 3 movies. At number 6, and we have Taryn. Now, another kill from Nightmare 3. So, in this movie, Dream Warriors, all of the kids in the psych hospital, they discover their special dream powers. And Taryn's is pretty much being beautiful and bad. So while Taryn is in a nightmare, she ends up coming face to face with Freddy, where the pair of them end up fighting. And for a moment there, Taryn actually gets the upper hand, or at least Freddy makes her think that she has the upper hand. Freddy knows all of the kids' weak spots, and Taryn is a recovering drug addict. So Freddy pulls out his needles on his fingers and he basically drives them straight into Taryn's arms. It's really gross when you see all of those old needle holes doing those little sucky sounds. Interestingly though, guys, Taryn's head was supposed to explode during this kill, but I think they ran out of time or something or other, but either way, this is a brilliant kill. At number 5, and we have Tina from Nightmare 1. Now, this is the recycled death scene that I was talking about earlier on. Now, this one is higher up on my list because it's the first kill in the very first movie, and it's a death scene that we all remember. So Tina is awoken by some noises or tapping sounds coming from the bedroom window. When she goes to take a look, it looks like that someone is pretty much spitting at the window, followed by Freddy calling Tina's name in a really creepy way. So Tina goes out to investigate, as you do, and she ends up running into Freddy. Now Freddy has these super long arms at one point, but he ends up chasing her all the way back to the house, and he taunts her for a little bit, but then he jumps on top of her. Tina and Freddy, they're then back in Tina's bed, and her boyfriend Rod, he pulls the sheets off and all he sees is Tina being flung about, but he can't see Freddy. Tina is then dragged up the walls and across the ceiling while cuts start to appear all over her body, before being thrown down into a pool of her own blood in the bed. Now it's a brilliant first kill in my opinion, and I would have loved to have seen a cinema reaction video of the audience when it first hit the cinemas in 1984. I bet people were blown away back then. At number 4, and it's a kill from a very poor Nightmare movie in my opinion. I'm talking about Dan's death in Nightmare 5, The Dream Child. Now, I am not a massive fan of this movie. Now, there are little parts that I do like, but for the most part, I get really bored when watching this one. Now, Dan's death is definitely the highlight of the whole movie for me. Now, this film did have a lot of cuts, particularly the killing scenes, for apparently being too graphic or something or other. So anyway, Dan jumps on his motorbike after being taunted by Freddy in his car, and his motorbike pretty much comes alive. Like, it literally turns into a talking Freddy. All of a sudden, these wires start entering Dan's body and going through his hands, and you see the wires going up through his skin. The wires then start going into his face, and it looks very painful. Freddy then inserts some fuel into Dan's body, which pretty much cooks him from the inside, and it ends up burning the skin off his whole body, and it turns him into like a weird skeleton burning thing. Dan has actually fallen asleep in his truck while he is driving and while he's having this nightmare. But of course, he crashes and he dies. But that scene on the motorbike is absolutely amazing. It's quite a disturbing kill, which is, I love those kind of kills. And if you haven't seen the unedited version of this kill, then take a look on YouTube, guys, because someone has uploaded the unedited version, and you will see just how gruesome this scene is. At number 3, we have Phillips sleepwalking from hell death scene from Nightmare 3. Now, this is a bloody brilliant kill. Now, I did actually struggle with my top 3 on this list, as they are all so fantastic. But anyway, Philip, he is fast asleep in his unit with Kincaid, and all of a sudden, one of Philip's puppets turns into Freddy. Freddy then grows into a life-size Freddy, and then he ends up slicing Philip's arms and his legs. Next minute, Philip's veins are pulled out from his slices, pretty much turning him into a human sleepwalking puppet. Philip is then taken through the hospital and onto the roof. Joey, he ends up seeing Philip on the roof and he tries to wake everyone up, but Freddy, he just ends up chopping Philip's veins and causes him to fall from the building, making it look like a tragic accident or even suicide. Now, what I love about this kill is how gruesome it is. I mean, when you see Philip's holes in his feet, it's like, wow, that is some brilliant shit there. Even by today's standards, this scene is absolutely epic. At number 2, we have Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn's death. Now, this is, of course, another favorite death scene of mine, and probably a lot of you guys out there as well. It's such an iconic scene that everyone remembers. So Glenn, he is supposed to be staying awake to help girlfriend Nancy out, but of course Glenn ends up falling asleep with a portable TV on his lap. Next minute, Freddy's arms pop up through the bed, and he pretty much pulls Glenn and he gets like sucked into the bed, and all of a sudden a fountain of blood comes gushing out of the hole and it's squirting up to the ceiling. Glenn's mum comes in and she sees what's happening, and of course she totally freaks out. Now, what I love about this scene is just how dramatic it all is. It's all very surreal, with the blood coming out the wrong way and hitting the ceiling, and the music that they use is very iconic. This is definitely up there as one of my favorite kills. However, I do have something slightly higher in my number 1 spot today. Before we get to number 1, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We currently upload new videos every week, and we are really looking to grow this channel, so make sure to hit that notification bell as well. and that is Jennifer's death from Nightmare 3 Dream Warriors. Now, whenever my friends talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street, 99% of the time they talk about this scene. So Jennifer is chilling and watching TV in the lounge room of the hospital. All of a sudden, Freddy attacks one of the women on this chat show, and then the TV turns to static. Jennifer panics and she walks closer and closer to the TV screen. She tries a few of the buttons, but nothing is happening. She then tries banging the TV because that's pretty much what we'd all do. So she bangs the TV, and all of a sudden, Freddy's arms come bursting out either side of the TV box and they pick Jennifer up. Freddy's head then melts out of the top of the TV and says, "This is it, Jennifer, your big break-in TV." He then delivers that famous line, "Welcome to prime time, bitch," before smashing Jennifer's head straight through the TV, killing her instantly. It is such a brilliant kill, and it never gets old no matter how many times I see it, and this is why I love Nightmare 3 The Dream Warriors. The kills, and even just like the nightmares where nobody dies, they are so creative, and the effects, they still hold up to this very day. Absolutely brilliant. Okay guys, well that was my top 10 Freddy kills. Let me know in the comments box below what you thought of the video and if you agree or disagree with my list. There's no wrong or right answer, everyone is entitled to an opinion. But let me know, what is your all-time favorite Freddy kill? Okay guys, well if you're still here then thank you all for sticking around until the end of the video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe, and I'll see you all again very soon.